Hello, I'm Mike Buchanan, the man behind the comedy award-winning website laughingatfeminists.com. The premise of the website is that laughing at feminists is more than important. It's a civic duty. Feminists are laughable, so we laugh at them. Feminists are ridiculous, so we ridicule them. Feminists are ludicrous, so we ludicrise them. I'm about to make a historic offer directly to the American people on behalf of a Great Britain, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, a good friend for many, many years. Before I do, though, I think I'll pour a small drink to stiffen the sinews and summon up the blood. The expression stiffen the sinews and summon up the blood is, of course, drawn from a speech by King Henry V in the play of the same name by the great British playwright William Shakespeare. The speech starts with this: "Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favoured rage." And so on, but we must move on. Ah. There's nothing like a small Bloody Mary to lift the spirits, I find. I'm speaking to you today from the library of my main summer residence, Buchanan Castle, near Loch Lomond in Scotland. It's the same room where my talk for the 6th International Conference on Men's Issues, ICMI 20, was recorded recently. There's a link to the 130 conference videos, including my own, in the low bar. In that video, I explained that I bought Buchanan Castle in 2013 with the royalties from the first 5 of my international bestsellers, and I spent millions of pounds restoring the castle to its former glory. I understand this is the largest private library in Great Britain. I recently enjoyed a fine dinner with Boris Johnson in one of the dining rooms at 10 Downing Street in London. We're both lifelong ardent Americophiles, a word which for some baffling reason doesn't appear in my weighty Chambers dictionary. Out of the blue, Boris asked me if I knew why Great Britain was so called. I told him I had always assumed it was simply because Britain is demonstrably great. He laughed and said that's true, of course, then explained it could be traced back to the Greco-Egyptian scientist Claudius Ptolemy. The P is silent, as in a swimming pool. Ptolemy referred to the largest island off the northern coast of France as Great Britain, and to the small island, confusionally called Ireland, as Little Britain in his work Almagest. In 1783, the American War of Independence was over, officially ended in the Treaty of Paris that year. We didn't have our best troops in America during that war, a little known fact to this day, because feminist historians have conspired to keep it out of the history books ever since. Half of our soldiers in that war were women, as a result of the Military Gender Parity Act of 1751. A letter dated the 4th of April, 1777, from General Ivor Biggin to the British government survives and is on display in the Great British Museum in London. He described all the female soldiers as utterly crap. You hardly need me to tell you that, of course, those women played a key role in Great Britain losing the war. Now, in case you might harbour a doubt that half of the British troops in that war were women, I shall now put on the screen one of the few surviving photographs of some of them taken during the bitter winter of 1776-7. The officer on the left, Captain Dotty Harper, widely referred to by the male troops as Hottie Harper, later chipped a fingernail while cleaning her musket and had to return to Great Britain for treatment. She never returned to the war, conveniently becoming pregnant soon after her return to the old country. Our best troops, all of them men, obviously, were engaged at the time in yet another war against the French, who historically have never accepted the Great British ruling over them. What on earth is wrong with them? Please, no emails telling me what's wrong with the French. I'm a Francophile, despite the French all being commies, and I don't want to be hounded out of my clifftop villa on the French Riviera, my main winter residence. Sorry about this. Hello, anti-feminist hotline. Wow. Thank you, Janice. You have a sex tape of American feminist politicians, including some hot feminist on feminist lesbian action between Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. Yes, please send me the file. I'm sure we can get some media coverage for that. But I'm recording a video right now, Janice. So I wonder, could you possibly call back in half an hour? Then we can discuss this further. That's great, Janice. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye. I can't believe how many calls I'm getting on that hotline. Anyway, 237 years on from the Treaty of Paris, we might struggle to take over the United States militarily. It could take years, quite frankly, and cost far too many great British and American lives. So it occurred to Boris that he should make an offer to the American people to once again rule over the lands now collectively known as the United States. We were finishing our third bottle of Chateau Margaux at the time, one of them the sublime 2003 vintage. Boris was slurring his words a bit, and my memory of the conversation is a bit hazy, to be honest, but I'll present to you what I can remember of his offer, which he asked me to communicate on his behalf to the American people. I haven't passed this video by him for approval, but I'm sure he'll be okay with it. And besides, he's a very busy man. Time for another pick-me-up, I think. Nice. Oh. Your country appears to be in a bit of a pickle at the moment, and there's a prospect that Donald Trump may be kicked out of office. Joe Biden, a geriatric communist, could be your next president, and a feminist your next vice president. Unbelievable. What were the people who voted for the Democrat Party thinking? Last year, the great British people voted in a general election, and two things dominated people's voting intentions. Number one, the need to get Great Britain out of a communist institution, the European Union or EU. The people had voted overwhelmingly in a referendum to exit the EU. The only party committed to honouring the wishes of those people was the Conservative Party under the leadership of Boris Johnson. And number two, the need to ensure that Jeremy Corbyn, another geriatric communist and leader of the Labour Party, didn't become Prime Minister. Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party were duly elected in a famous victory for great British common sense, although, ironically, the party hasn't been Conservative for many years. Great Britain is no longer a part of the EU. Good riddance to it. Boris has only one demand in returning for agreeing that Great Britain will again rule over your lands. He asks that henceforth you start speaking and writing English as opposed to American English. A few examples should illustrate the changes he has in mind. Number one, there's a light metal that will in future be spelled and pronounced aluminium, not aluminum. Unbelievable. Number two, I hate to be the one to break this to you, but the letter H in herb is not silent. Number three, the letter U will be reintroduced to words such as colour, valour, humour, and so on. We will legislate to ensure that computer programs autocorrect from American English to English. There will in future be two M's in the word program, followed by an E. It won't take you any longer to say it, but yes, it will take you a little bit longer to type it. Number four, a prime example of your violation of the English language relates to the word vehicle, which I believe some people in the southern United States, including Texas, from where Paul Elam hails, pronounce the word vehicle. Anyway, order will be restored. You mustn't take any of this personally, of course. Now, Australia is another troubled country. Their mangling of the English language is even more extreme than yours. I heard recently from an Australian doctor who had to act as an interpreter between an Australian and an American. Boris is planning to make an offer to Australians too, and I hope to present that in another video soon. I think we can all agree that Boris's demands of the American people are a small price to pay for returning your country to sound government and stability. And in pursuit of that goal, he will install Donald Trump as life president. Boris feels confident that that won't lead to civil unrest, but I'm not quite so sure. I shall say a few words now about Al Murray, another Great Britain. He's the only person I know of who's both a philosopher and a stand-up comedian, demonstrating his prowess in both fields with his alter ego, the pub landlord. He went to school in my adopted hometown of Bedford, England, a throbbing metropolis that's so good they only had to name it once. On YouTube, there's an educational and hilarious video by Al Murray, less than 8 minutes long, titled Why It's Called Great Britain. There's a link in the low bar. I hope you'll enjoy it. I'm sure you will. And finally, I already host a 90-minute long men-only meeting for Regarding Men, that's regardingmen.com, at 2 p.m. GMT on Sundays. Starting on Sunday, the 6th of December, I'll be hosting another meeting for Regarding Men at 5 p.m. GMT. The group will concern itself with the creation and enjoyment of humorous content in all its varieties, and I hope to see you there. Bye for now.